What's going on, guys? Hope you guys are all doing well today. Thanks for viewing this channel. Today's video, I'm going to be doing a review on the Nikon D3100. So I started taking photos about a year and a half ago, and I went to school for it. And when I first started taking photos, this was my first camera, and this is the camera that I have been using ever since. This is the camera that I was using pretty much all the time until I got this new camera, which is the Canon 80D. When I first started using this camera, I was using a kit lens, and the kit lens served a lot of great things. It was amazing. However, it was, it's the kit lens. So what I did was I decided to use a 35mm lens. It is 35mm 1.8. I'll let you guys read that. And it's not focusing. Okay, so I used a 35mm lens. I bought it for about 180 bucks, and at first I was having some issues with it because I wasn't able to focus properly with it, but after a while, after I got used to it, the photos that I was taking it just took it to the next level. I was taking photos that were probably, people used to ask if I was using like a Nikon D810 or one of those new like D750s, and I was like no, like I'm using a Nikon D3100. And the reason why is not just because of the lens, but this is an awesome camera to use if you are currently starting off. The settings are really easy to use, and you guys can't see it, but the settings are really easy to use, and it's a camera that's it's not too heavy. The shutter is it's pretty quiet as well, if you guys can hear. So this is the shutter here. It's not too loud compared to other cameras, and it's really great to use, and it's something that I highly recommend for those starting off. I believe if you are starting off with photography, get a Canon T3i, T2i. This is probably an equivalent of a T2i, and this camera was probably released like back in like 2011, 2010, but this camera is amazing. And I'm supposed to sell this camera tomorrow, but I'm even thinking of keeping this camera as a second camera, simply because I do want to use this Canon as a video type of camera, but this camera is still amazing. Like, I know how to use it for photos. The only drawback with this camera is the video side of it. If you are trying to take videos with this camera, it's kind of tough to do. You can still do it, and it's still really great, but it really kind of limits you, and that's why I got a new camera. So it is a 14 megapixel camera, and people sometimes look at megapixels as the main thing, thanks to phones and stuff like that, but megapixels only plays somewhat of a role. Honestly, I'm gonna show you guys some photos that I took with this camera alone, and I will show you guys which ones I shot with the kit lens and the ones that I shot with this lens over here. And it is an amazing camera. Honestly, it's probably worth 300 bucks for this whole thing. You can probably get this body for 150 bucks, and you can get this for another 180 bucks, maybe less. Great investment. Get another battery, which I have, and you're perfect. It's amazing. You can do so much with it. Obviously, it's an older camera. At some point, once you start to get better, you want to start to use better gear, and that's just so that you can progress your work. But overall, this camera is highly recommended. This is not a sponsorship from Nikon. I'm using a Canon camera, and this is an amazing camera. I'm gonna miss using this camera. This is a camera that it has done a lot of good for me. I've made money off this camera. My ROI has increased because, this camera made me money, and I was able to shoot literally anything. With this 35mm lens, you can literally shoot anything. And honestly, if you guys want to get any kind of lens, 35mm for a crop frame is highly recommended in my personal opinion. And this camera is highly recommended as well if you're on a budget. Like I said, you can probably get it online for about $300, this whole thing with the kit lens, probably maybe $320 to $350. Highly recommend it. Go for it if you can. And obviously, yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions on how to use this camera. As I said, I'm probably going to be selling this camera in the next few days, so I might not have the camera, but I do know this camera pretty much from head to toe, so you guys can ask me anything about the camera in terms of lenses, in terms of using the camera. If you guys want to use it for a specific thing, you guys can let me know. I use this pretty much for everything. I did sports photography, I did weddings, I did landscapes, I did portraiture. I literally use this for everything. So this camera helped me grow my Instagram account to pretty much 3,500 followers. And you know, gear is gear, and gear is important, but at the same time too, it's also your skills. And this is a very easy camera to use, so I highly recommend it. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.